That gets me going, man.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mafia Means Family Podcast on Mafia Sports Report. Special thank you to TJ from Mafia Sports Report for giving us this opportunity. Now, this is our first episode, and I want to thank you guys for checking us out. If you can, just take a second down below and like, comment, share, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to the channel and the show. Now, I am Mafia Mom, and I'm joined here by Mini Mafia. How you doing today, Mini Mafia?
Good, and I know I do look familiar. I was on the show last week or the week before.
So you've been on talking about the Bills, right?
Yep.
They've been giving us a lot to talk about lately, huh?
Yes, they have.
Yes, you're growing up in a very fortunate time to be a Bills fan. Personally, I grew up in the Kelly era and then lived through the horrible drought, which I'm sure many of you have. So we're a brand new show today on Mafia Sports Report, and it's going to be a little different than your typical sports report. We're just a mother and son who's going to sit around and talk about the Bills. So hopefully you enjoy it. We're going to start by going over some of the Packers-Bills game. What did you think of that game?
I don't really know what I thought about it, but I thought it was a pretty good game between both teams. But the Packers, they weren't really passing the ball. That hurt them because they were just running out the clock.
They were. The second half was definitely odd. I know I cannot be alone as a Bills fan. They're getting very frustrated watching them run 7-8 yard chunks at a time, and it felt like just flashbacks of last year watching New England run the ball down our throats and the hurricane that was that Week 13 game. But hearing Leslie Frazier talk after the game about how he kind of expected them to pass and wasn't willing to get out of the nickel defense and was fine with them running for chunk yards because we were up so big. But it feels odd as a Bills fan to be nitpicking about a 10-point win over the reigning MVP. Even if the Packers are struggling right now, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what were your other thoughts on that game? So we won that game 27-17. What did you think of the offense? What did you think of Josh and in the run game?
Well, I thought Josh did really good in the first half, scored lots of points, played well, played smart. Second half, didn't do so well. Threw 2 interceptions, sloppy interceptions. And they were really just off their groove. The run game stayed solid the whole game. Singletary just kept pounding the ball, just kept getting his yards every time.
I'd agree. I think the run game has really come alive the last few weeks, which is good. We're never going to be a run-first offense, and we shouldn't be a run-first offense. I think defenses probably feel very lucky when they see Josh Allen hand the ball off because you'd much rather have Singletary running at you than Josh trying to throw to Diggs or Davis 60 yards on the field or Josh Allen running at you, leaping over you or running you over. So I don't think we're ever going to be a heavy run team, but it helps to have a little bit of a run game. So in games like the second half versus the Packers, when Allen was off a little bit, having a run game to fall back on can help and can win us games, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So the biggest takeaways that I had from that game come down to turnovers. We've just had so many sloppy turnovers this year. I was looking it up before we hopped on here, and in the games that we have won, which obviously is all but one, the Miami game, we've won every game where we've either had an even turnover margin, so we have the same number of turnovers as the other team, or where we've forced more turnovers than we've given up. The only game that we lost, we had more turnovers than we forced. Now, we did win 2 games where we gave up the ball more than we took it away. But you just can't play like that the whole season, and you definitely can't play like that in January. So what do you think? Do you think they're going to start tightening that up a little bit? I keep waiting for it, but so far I haven't seen them taking any steps to tighten up the turnover issues.
I really just think that they're definitely going to do that. Sean McDermott, He is a put smart players at the smart positions and just try and make good out of it. If Josh Allen isn't playing well, I don't think this is going to happen. But they might get in another quarterback and might take Josh Allen out for a game like to show how it's done.
I'm not sure we would want to do that with Case Keenum back there. But I think sometimes with Josh Allen, you got to remember that you kind of take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to make some boneheaded plays where you're like, Josh, what are you doing? But he's also going to make a lot of those really spectacular plays where your jaw just drops. You're like, how did he do that? And I don't think you can really have those, oh my God, moments if you don't every once in a while take some of those turnovers. And like, to be honest, up to this point in the season, up to that game, I don't really think Josh was the biggest problem with turnovers. We put the ball on the ground a lot this year. All of our running backs have fumbled at least once. We've had just issues like that, or there was a few interceptions that Josh Allen threw. One that ricocheted off of McKenzie's hands. Remember that in week 1, where it was hit him right in the stomach, but it bounced off and went to the other team. There was another one, Jamison Crowder in that game was running a crossing pattern, and if he had come back to the quarterback like he's supposed to, that's probably not a pick, but he didn't. He drifted deeper, and that's the kind of thing that I can live with those. It's just the rookie Josh Allen mistakes that I don't want to see him continue to do. But either way, I think we've got the best quarterback in the league. Arguably, I understand Patrick Mahomes is playing very good. Jalen Hurts is playing very good. I just don't think either one of those can do the things that Josh Allen can do. So
yeah, I agree.
All right. Any other thoughts on the Green Bay game?
No, just tighten up the offense. Don't do turnovers.
I will say my final thought on the Green Bay game. There was a lot of trash talking going on in that game, and the Bills don't generally get super involved in that. So I understand Green Bay was a desperate team in that game, and they understand their season slipping away. They're not used to losing. They've won 13 games each of the last 3 seasons. I think that Allen and Diggs Davis let them get under their skin a little bit, and I think they kind of wanted to show off a little. So there were some times where I thought Allen was trying to do a little bit too much, but I felt like it was trying to go after and punish the defense for how chippy they were being. A lot like they did with Jalen Ramsey in week 1, but with Jalen Ramsey, it didn't backfire. So I don't have a problem with them doing that at times because the team is that good, but they need to be cautious of when that crosses a line where it could potentially hurt the team, as opposed to just proving a point and proving that you're tougher, you're stronger, whatever. The win means a lot more than that, right? All right. So we're going to play a little game now. It's going to be called Fact or Flag. Now, I'm going to read you a fact, and if you think that it is true, you do nothing. If you think it is false, you're going to throw the flag, okay? All right. So let me get my little notes here. Okay. So first one, Jameis Winston, okay, the current quarterback who's injured in New Orleans, he has thrown for more yards in a single season than Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. Do you think that's fact or flag? You think that's a flag? Okay. It is actually true. Jameis Winston has had more passing yards in a single season than either one of those quarterbacks. That's crazy, right? I was blown away when I saw it. I couldn't believe it. All right, let's see here. All right. Josh Allen is currently on pace to break the single season passing record. Fact or flag? You think it's a fact? Oh, you're 0 for 2. He is not currently on pace to break the single season passing record.
What?
He is not. Now, here's another one for you. Here's kind of part 2 to that one. Josh Allen is on pace to break the single season total yardage record, which would be rushing and passing yards for a QB in a single season. What do you think? Is he on pace to beat that record?
I don't know.
If you don't know, we'll take a guess. Fact or flag? It's okay if you get it wrong.
I think it's a fact.
You think it's a fact. Okay. You are absolutely right. It is a fact. And he's not just on pace to beat it. He's on pace to beat it big time. The current record was set by Drew Brees, back in 2011 with 5,562 yards. Allen is currently on pace for 6,081 total yards. So he's going to be, if he stays on the same pace he is now, he's going to beat that by about 500 yards. Now, there is an extra game now because they're playing 17 games instead of 16. But even without that extra game, he's still on pace to beat that. So that would be cool to have him see that. Plus, I would love for Allen to get an MVP. I'm sick of the that being held over his head, that he doesn't have an MVP, so he can't be in that elite conversation. And I just think he deserves it. All right, let's see. We're gonna go into some Jets Bills factor flags. So Mark Sanchez, Sam Darnold, and Zach Wilson are the last three quarterbacks taken by the New York Jets in the first round. Okay. Now Sanchez played 4 years, Darnold played 3 years, Zach Wilson's in his second year. Do you think those three quarterbacks accounted for more total touchdowns, or do you think Josh Allen has in his first 4.5 seasons? So we're going to say that Josh Allen has accounted for more touchdowns in his first 4 seasons than all of those guys combined. In there, it would be 4, 3, 2, 9 years with the Jets. What do you think?
I think it's a fact.
You think it's a fact? You are absolutely right. Josh Allen has accounted for 172 touchdowns, and Wilson, Darnold, and Sanchez only accounted for 147 touchdowns. All right. Got another one for you, Jets, Bills. All right. Since Josh Allen was drafted in 2018, the Josh Allen has accounted for more total yards than the entire Jets offense. So that's passing yards and rushing yards for Josh Allen, and passing yards and rushing yards for the Jets. So I'm saying that Allen has accumulated more yards since he was drafted than the Jets offense the last 4.5 years.
I think that's a fact.
I think it's a fact. That one is a flag. So the Jets offense has about 500 more yards than Josh Allen, but that's still insane by himself that he has only 500 less yards than the entire Jets offense since 2018. All right, last one here. Ready? All right. More wins. Okay. So I'm going to say the New York Jets have more wins since the start of the 2014 season. Okay. Than Josh Allen has in his career. Remember, he wasn't drafted until 2018. So that's 4 extra years. The Jets have more wins. You are absolutely right, sir. The Jets have gotten 46 wins since 2014. Only 46. Josh Allen has 48 wins in his career. Now that does include playoffs, so it is a little extra because the Jets haven't played any playoff games in that time. All right, so that was fun. This facts play, you did pretty good, right? Kind of some weird facts there. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. All right, so now let's move on to the Bills-Jets preview. And before we get too deep into the Jets itself, what do you think of the Nyheim Hines trade? Do you think we're going to see any of him this week?
I do think we're definitely going to see a decent amount more of him, just to see how he plays, how he does with the new offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're definitely going to see him more in the receiving game because he's definitely more of a receiving back. I think we're going to replace Nyheim Hines for McKenzie.
As a receiver? As a returner?
As a returner. I think we're going to put Nyheim Hines in there instead.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because he does have some returning experience.
Agreed. And I don't know about all of you, and I don't know about you, but every time McKenzie fields a kick, I get nervous. I just don't trust him anymore back there, and I would much rather have somebody who maybe doesn't have the potential of taking it to the house, although McKenzie really hasn't done that lately, but at least I know ball security isn't an issue. I would agree with you. I think that Hines will probably play in the return game quite a bit this week. I don't know how much he'll play in the offense this week at least, but I think moving forward, he could definitely be a weapon. I think he's a better receiver than Singletary, but I don't think he is going to overtake Singletary as the number one back right now. Who do you think will end up playing more in a couple weeks? Do you think Hines or James Cook will end up getting more touches in a few weeks? Hines. I could see that. I think
also it's really good for James Cook and the offense because Nyheim Hines can teach James Cook better receiving.
I agree with that. And everything I've heard about Hines is he's such a great guy and he's such a great teammate to have. Pat McAfee, who is an ex teammate of his who hosts the show now, he was almost in tears talking about Hines leaving. Like he really, really liked Hines. So I would agree with that. That I think he'll probably James Cook will probably be able to learn a lot from him. And I don't know about you, but I don't think the coaching staff fully trusts James Cook yet. I don't know if it's because of that fumble the first game, or if it's stuff they've seen in practice. I just feel like they have been very hesitant to work him in on a regular basis. I'd like to see a little bit more of him, especially in the receiving game. That's kind of why we brought him here. But they just seem a little hesitant. So I think you're right. I think Hines is going to play a bigger role than Cook, at least for a while. What about Khalil Shakir? What are you thinking of him?
I think Khalil Shakir has definitely been doing well, especially I think it was in the Steelers game.
I think he had a few catches in the Steelers game. Yeah, I think it was a Steelers game.
I think it was either the Steelers game, or like 2 weeks ago. I don't remember the team he played them. Josh Allen threw up that ball in triple coverage. I definitely,
that was a great catch.
Since then, I've definitely been trusting him to go up and get those because of that.
Mm-hmm. He tried to throw one to him in the back of the end zone against the Packers too. It wasn't a great pass. I don't think Shakir could have gotten to it, even if it was. He was pretty blanketed in the coverage. But yeah, I'm with you. How do you feel about it? If you had to pick McKenzie or Shakir to go out there and take
Shakir
over half of the snaps, I'm with you, man. Like I like McKenzie. I think he's a great gadget player on those jet sweeps. I think he's really special. Or when we play a heavy man team, because McKenzie is so quick and so fast. I think he can just kind of run away from people. But even teams that play a lot of man now are still more zone than man. Like everybody plays more zone than man. So you need somebody who can find those soft spots in the defense like Beasley used to do. And I don't see McKenzie doing that. I haven't seen him take that step this year. And he's had a couple really rough games. Like the game, was it the KC game when he came back from the concussion? He tripped over his own feet and dropped the touchdown on fourth down. And then he had the weird pitch from Josh that he fumbled. That cost us 2 trips into the red zone. I like McKenzie a lot. I want him on the team. I think there's a place for him, but I think as a receiver, Shakir is better. You think that too?
I don't agree with the gadget player because remember in the Packers game and the Chiefs game, he was just running back and forth.
He did have that. The Chiefs game was a rough game for him. He definitely, that was like more screw ups than I had seen him make in a very long time.
And he ran back like 10, 12 yards.
Yeah, I think it's possible maybe they just brought him back too early from the concussion. I think they rushed him back a little bit maybe. But either way, he played good against Green Bay, though. He had that jet sweep where he had 2 defenders coming at him and he beat them both to the corner. He put on a little move and beat them both to the corner and scored the touchdown. So I get what you're saying, though. We have no idea. Maybe Shakir's a great gadget player, too. We haven't really seen him do that, right? Yeah. So very possible.
Also, from what I heard, he's really quick and fast.
Yeah, he definitely has some speed, and he's got great hands. And sometimes I don't trust McKenzie's hands so much. So I see what you're saying there. So the all-time record between the Bills and the Jets, because they're obviously division rivals, they've been facing each other for a very long time. The Bills have won 67 matchups, and the Jets have won 56. The Bills have won the last 4 head-to-head, and the last 4 in the Jets' home in the Meadowlands. Now, Allen is technically 5-2 against the Jets, but the one game he only threw like 5 passes. It was week 17, I believe, of the 2019 season. We already had our playoff spot all set. We only played the starters for a fefew plays, and then we pulled them out, and we ended up losing that game. I don't really count that against Allen. When he's played the whole game and wanting to win, he's 5-1. The only time he lost to them was in his rookie year. It was his very first game. So a little worried about the injury report. I don't know how you're feeling about it. So Jordan Poyer is not going to play. He's been ruled out. I know. That's he's having such a great year, and I feel for the guy. Like, he's trying to get paid. He wants this big contract, and he deserves this big contract, but he can't stay healthy. He only missed like 5 games in the last 5 years, something like that. So for him to now be missing another game due to injury, it sucks. Like I want him to be okay. Also, Matt Milano is questionable to play. So that's another big hit to the defense if he can't play. Matt Milano, I think, is having his best season of his career. Tremaine Edmonds will play, but he's banged up. Von Miller even showed up on the injury report this week, but he did practice Friday. He seems good to go. But that's a lot of injuries at all three levels on defense to be worried about. So, how do you think the Bills' defense will stack up against Zach Wilson, who had a very rough outing last week?
Well, I trust our defense. I think our defense is solid. Dane Jackson has got some serious playing time. He's turned into a number two, maybe number three corner. We have Taron Johnson, um, um, the new rookie corner that we got.
Kyrie Elam, yeah. And
Kyrie
Bedford,
Elam.
they've kind of split snaps.
Also, we might have White back this week.
That's exciting, isn't it?
He hasn't played in a long time.
Thanksgiving of last year.
He might play a few snaps, then I'll take him out. Just to get him warmed up, get going, remember the plays.
Right. I agree. I don't think he's going to just go in and play the whole game. But just seeing number 27 out there again, very, very good. It'll be really good to see him out there again, for sure. We miss him. Like, he's such a character on the field, and he's such a good player.
He's also a really good influence in the locker room. He plays pranks and stuff.
He is. He definitely a real team first guy, and he likes to goof around with his teammates for sure. It's a good point. Remember the snowball fight from last year? I'm pretty sure Trey White was in on that.
Trey White started it.
That's possible. But I think you make a good point. I think Dane Jackson has gotten some really valuable play time, and he's coming along quite good. So when White does come back, do you think it'll be Dane Jackson on one side and White on the other, or do you think they're going to give, the first round pick a shot or the 6th round pick a shot? Do you think who do you think will start opposite of White once White comes back full time?
I think that they're going to rotate. I think that they're going to put Dane Jackson in bed. Honestly, I think they might be starting to play 3. I think they're gonna rotate Bedford and Elam a little bit. They're probably gonna rotate Jackson a little bit as well. I think White, Jackson, and Bedford are gonna be the main 3. I think they might rotate Kyrie Elam in a little bit, kind of like they do with the D-line.
Okay, that's fair. It would be unusual to do that on the back end, but I wouldn't put it past Leslie Frazier if he feels like he can get an edge like that. I could see him doing something like that. Either way, once White comes back, I feel a lot better about the depth that we have in the cornerback room. Bedford and Kyrie Elam got some really valuable playing time and experience. So if they're thrown into a playoff game in the second half, I'm not as worried about them as I would have been had they not played all year, right? I personally think that it'll be White and Dane Jackson for the most part. I think unless Dane Jackson starts to play bad, I don't think he's going to lose his spot right now. I think the long-term goal is to have Elam or Bedford out there, but for right now, I think it's Dane Jackson's job. I think he's worked hard, and they're going to keep him with it, especially with Hideout and Poyer back and forth with injuries, because you have no experience then at the safety position either. Like Hamlin's playing well, but he's still very young and he makes silly mistakes. And Johnson, same thing. I mean, he's an instinctual player, but he's not as big or as fast as Hyde is, and him and Hamlin are never going to play together like Poyer and Hyde did. So
Poyer and Hyde are basically like brothers. They know the game plan. Yeah. They always stick together. They'll defend one another, and
they just play off of each other very well. Like they know where the other one's going to be at all times, so they know how to disguise certain looks and stuff like that without having to communicate too much, and that can confuse a quarterback, especially a young quarterback like Zach Wilson. So it'd be really nice to have them both back, but that's not going to happen. Hyde's done for the year. But as long as Hamlin and Johnson are playing back there, I think the more experience you can have, the most experience possible that you can have at cornerback, which would be Dane Jackson over Elam or Bedford, I think that's the way to go. So how do you see this game going down on Sunday? The Jets have a top 10 defense. They look really good. Their front 4, they get after the quarterback, man. They're good. And Sauce Gardner, look, he talked a lot of crap when he came into the league. So far, he's backed it up. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, yeah, I know that I know that the does have a top 10 defense, but Allen plays very good under pressure. If anything, he plays better under pressure than he does not under pressure. Also, Sauce Gardner, he's back. He's backed it up ever since he came into the league. But Josh Allen shows corners who's boss. Also,
You feel real confident about this game, don't
Yeah.
you?
I think he might have a pick. I think it might be a silly one though. Like I think it might go off of someone's hands or something.
Okay.
But he throws the ball so fast that corners that haven't felt the ball hit their hands. It's just unbelievable how fast he throws it. They can't catch it. Only the wide receivers really know what it's like to catch a ball that might be only like 5 to 7 miles an hour.
Well, 5 to 7 miles an hour would be pretty slow, but I get your point, and I think you're
10
right.
to 15 miles an hour.
I think he throws way faster than that, like 60 miles an hour type of thing, like way faster. But I get what you're saying. I get your point, and I do think that's something I've thought about for a long time. There's this it's called PFF, Pro Football Focus, and they put together all of these really in-depth stats, and one of them are turnover-worthy plays. Because you know how sometimes a quarterback maybe he throws 3 balls that bounce right off the defender's hands, none of them get caught, and then he throws one in another game that bounces right off his receiver's hands and gets intercepted. Now on the stat sheet, it looks like this day he took care of the ball and this day he didn't. But in truth, that's really not how it was, right? Well, Pro Football Focus breaks that down. So they have what's called turnover-worthy plays. Now, Josh Allen, although steadily declining for the most part each year, he has a lot of turnover-worthy plays, which are plays that they believe the defense should have capitalized on.
Wait, he's declining?
Right, he's declining. So every year he's had less and less turnover-worthy plays. There was a slight up last year from 2020, but I think that had a lot to do with the defenses we were facing and stuff. I don't think it was Josh Allen per se. But what I'm saying is that I think a lot of the reasons why Josh Allen has a lot of turnover-worthy plays that don't end up in turnovers, I don't think it's necessarily luck. I think it is how hard he throws the ball. I think he throws the ball so hard. There used to be a saying that a cornerback isn't a receiver because he can't catch. So, like, the difference between a cornerback and a receiver is the receiver can catch the ball. And I think cornerbacks are not used to catching passes directly from the quarterback like that, and especially not going that fast. So I think that's a good point. And Sauce Gardner has played very well up to this point in the year, but he hasn't had success, I should say, because he did face Lamar Jackson against a receiver like Diggs and a QB at an elite level. He hasn't really had to play that up to this point. So who knows? He could go out there and he could hold Diggs to, 3 catches for 20 yards and no touchdowns. He could end up on Davis because Davis is a bigger body and Sauce Gardner is bigger. And he could hold Davis down. He could get burned by both of them. At some point, he is going to have a welcome to the NFL moment, and he's going to have a rough game. It could be this week. I don't know. But right now, this is a big test for him because he hasn't had to go up against a QB like Allen up to this point. So I think that's a very good point, for sure. So you're not really worried about our defense against Zach Wilson. Do you think they'll get any turnovers in this game?
I think they might get one, but I don't really think so.
So you think Zach Wilson's going to take care of the ball?
I don't think he's going to take care of the ball, especially right after a rusty game. I think he's still going to be struggling a little bit. And I just don't think he's going to take care of the ball very well.
Okay, so do you think the Bills' defense will force any turnovers?
They're definitely going to be forcing some 3-and-outs. They might get a fumble or a pick.
Okay.
But right. Really, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, let's get into our actual predictions for the game. We'll start with a Josh Allen stat line. Do you have a Josh Allen stat line for this game?
I do have a Josh Allen stat line.
All right, let's hear it.
My stat line is 4 passes attempt, 4 passes that he's thrown, 20 for 27.
Okay.
Touchdowns 3.
Okay.
I think he's gonna try and rush for 1.
Okay. It's been a good day.
Mm-hmm.
And then any interceptions?
I think he might have 1 interception. Just because
you mentioned like going off a receiver's hands or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
and 342 yards.
Whew, that'd be a big day. I'd love to see that. I don't think it's unreasonable. I'd love to see that. It's really tough because it's hard to tell. The Bills' offense hasn't faced a lot of great defenses. Green Bay was potentially the best defense they had faced, passing defense. And the Jets haven't really faced a lot of dynamic, great offenses. So this is a good test for both sides to see how good they really are, to kind of measure them.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm in the same area as you. I have Josh Allen going 24 for 32. I think he's going to throw for just over 300, maybe like 310. Stop looking at my sheet and cheating. I think he's only going to throw for 2 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to have an interception. I think he was very mad at himself after that Green Bay game. He said that he had a crappy taste in his mouth, and I think right now we're 0-1 in the division. He's going to go out there and try to prove a point, and I think he's going to play a really, really solid game. I do think he is going to have at least 45 yards on the ground, and I think he's going to add a rushing touchdown. So I would definitely agree with you there. Now, one of the things we're going to do each week is we are going to pick a player of the game for last week, a player of the game for the week coming up, and who we think might be player of the game, like a player to watch. And let's start with last week. So who would you give player of the game to last week?
Devin Singletary.
Devin Singletary. He had a good day. I don't remember what his stats were, but it was the times when he picked up those yards that felt really good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And he caught a couple balls too, I believe. He definitely had a good day. I am going to give my player of the game. I think I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball. I could probably pick this player every week, but Matt Milano. He's everywhere this year. He should have like 6 picks by now. Like the ball has hit his hands so many times.
He's dropped like 3, 4 of them.
Yes. But that means he's in the right place, and he just plays so fast. So I'm going to go with Matt Milano on that one. Now, what about this week coming up with the Jets? Who is your player to watch, we'll say?
I think the player to watch is Josh Allen, actually.
Josh Allen, he's always a guy to watch, right?
But especially because we're 0-1 in the division, like you said, and he was mad at himself last week for throwing 2 crappy, poorly interceptions.
I would agree with that. I don't think you can ever go wrong picking Josh Allen as a player to watch or play the game. Like, our team goes through him. So
yeah, he can be super unpredictable as well.
And he's just Superman out there sometimes, man. The things he does, I've been watching football for a very long time. I've never seen a quarterback be able to do all the things he does. So never a bad choice to go with him. For my player to watch, I'm going to go with Dawson Knox. I think we're overdue for a big game from Knox. He got on the board. He caught a touchdown in KC, kind of broke through, and then caught another one last week. But I think Dawson Knox is due for a big game. Of course, big for him. Anything over like 50 yards, I think, is a good day for him and a score. I just think he's going to make some timely catches this week. I want a big day out of Knox. All right. So now another thing that we're going to do here is we're going to call it family meeting. So between last week and this week, who are you calling in for a family meeting? Sit them down and say, look, this has got to be better. This isn't okay. Who would you like to call in?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen again. All right. And what are you going to say to Josh Allen?
Don't be smart with the football. Don't throw crappy interceptions. If you want to throw it away, throw it out of bounds or out of the back of the end zone. Don't put it in the field of play.
I'm with you on that, right? Because that second interception, he said he was trying to throw it away. Then throw it out of bounds, right? Don't even put it anywhere near the defenders, right? I think that's a good point. He definitely does have to take better care of the ball. No hero ball. I feel like we saw a little bit of hero ball in that second half where he just tried to do too much and it wasn't necessary. So I'm with you on that. I think for the family meeting, I'm going to call in. I'm going to go with the line, the D line. We are missing Poyer. I don't think White's going to play a full game. That back end they're missing a lot of pieces. And the best way, I should say, not the only way, but the best way to protect them is to get fast pressure on the quarterback. Zach Wilson is the worst QB in the NFL this year when he is under pressure. He has not played well. I think he's completed something like 9 of 40-some passes. He's got like 3 interceptions when under pressure. He's completing less than 50% of his balls normally. He's completing, I believe, even less under pressure. So getting in his face, their offensive line has been struggling a little bit since they lost offensive line, I can't think of his name offhand, but ever since he went down in the same game as Brees Hall, their offensive line has been struggling. So I think that guys like Von Miller and Greg Rousseau and Jordan Phillips and Ed Oliver, they need to be in the face. Shaq Lawson is kind of a revenge game, I believe, for Shaq Lawson. I think he was with the Jets last year. So they need to be in Zach Wilson's face, force him to make quick decisions, because if he makes quick decisions, they're generally not good decisions. So that's who I'm calling in for the family meeting. It's not so much they were bad last week, because they've been good all season. With Jordan Poyer being out and White not being back yet, I think we need just a little bit more from them this week. We need a little more oomph. This has to be a D-line game. Plus, they're going to try to run the ball, and we need to be able to shut that down early and put the game in Zach Wilson's hands. All right, so the last thing we're going to do here today then is a score prediction. So what are you seeing as a final outcome for this game? We know you have Josh Allen with 3, possibly 4 touchdowns, but what are you seeing for the final score?
I think the final score is going to be 38-10. I think we're going to score 4 touchdowns and a field goal.
4 touchdowns and a field goal. Okay. Well, that would be 5 touchdowns and a field goal, right? 38-10?
Oh,
yeah, it's all right.
I think Devin Singletary is going to score too.
Okay. All right. I like it. I would love that. Maybe wrap up the game by the third quarter, second half, and then rest them. I would love to see that. I'm hoping our offense shows out. Maybe it's just because I've been a Bills fan for so long, but I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. During games, sometimes I get so nervous that I'm so worried about things, and you guys are always like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I have a hard time seeing it like that. So I want them to go out and play a good, clean, strong game. Everything in my head tells me that this game should be really easy. Not easy, but no NFL games are easy, but this game should be very far in the Bills' favor. But my heart, being a Bills fan, watching them all this year, always has me hesitant to think it's going to be a blowout in the Bills' favor. However, I am going to go with a score prediction close to yours, not quite as much of a blowout as yours. I'm going to go with 31-17. If it is 31-17, I think what that comes down to is we take our foot off the gas and we're playing backups in the second, late into the fourth. So I don't think it's so much that we weren't able to score more if it ends 31-17. I think it was just don't risk any more injuries, pull out the starters, let them score a garbage time touchdown type of thing. But who knows? The Jets could come out and stun us, right? It could come out and punch us in the mouth. Right now we're 6-1. If we go out and play another game like we did in the second half with Green Bay, we deserve to lose another game this year. That's what should happen. Maybe it'll wake them up a little bit. If we go out and play like we did in the first half of the Green Bay game, I think we win this game by 3 touchdowns easy.
Or the Rams game.
Or the Rams game. Well, the first half of the Rams game was rough. We kept turning the ball over. Second half, we came out and dominated them. So we just need to put together a full game. But it shows how good the Bills are, that they're beating these teams who were in the playoffs last year by double digits and only playing good for a couple quarters at a time. So, all right. Anything else you want to add, Mini Mafia?
No, not really. Just go Bills. Love the Bills. That's it.
I'm with you on that. So I think the way that we'll end this each and every time is on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Go Bills.
Go Bills.